It's just
and we have sticky buns over there
it's a
that
typical
are calling
show.
my name.
It's just a typical show. Just
It
a
is.
bunch of people sitting around talking and bringing us food.
What more could you ask
know.
for?
I don't know how this job turns into free food all the time, but it always does, and I'm grateful
glad it
for
does, Rob.
Well, I complain when it doesn't. So
Yeah, that might be
today
helpful.
it was like a cornucopia of food.
And it compensates for this most generous salary that Hornby pays us.
Yeah, there's that.
I'll tell you what, you guys put another zero at the back of your checks for the Christmas break.
Our bonus.
Yeah,
Our
another
bonus
one.
for the holidays. Yeah.
Our guest in this segment is the treasurer of the state of West Virginia, Mr. Larry Pack. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, good morning. You guys are making me hungry.
You should be in
You
studio.
should be in here, Larry.
Jen Stanley, who's going to succeed Maria Lawrenson in her job at Hospice of the Panhandle, just pulled out of the oven freshly made sticky buns, and it's kind of it's more of a plate, a giant tray of just all of it joined together. You can't really pick one bun out or whatever. It's just a big.
Need the knife.
Yeah, you got to cut it out, but it smells like cinnamon in
And
here.
calling them sticky buns does not do justice to them.
like a
there
sticky
are two
cake.
categories of sticky buns: the traditional, the pedestrian sticky buns, and the Jen Stanley sticky buns. She
Very
is in
good.
a league by herself.
You got to
Awesome.
Yeah,
put it up there with Mac's wife's rum cake, I guess. I don't.
that's right.
Oof. I need some of that too.
Treasurer,
Not this morning.
Treasurer, are we all good here? Treasurer Pack, you have put out your list of legislative priorities for the upcoming legislative session, which, by the way, begins in January this year, not February, because we already have a governor inaugurated. So first and foremost, before we get into the content of those, why put out a list of legislative priorities, sir?
Well, I think it just goes along with what we've tried to do this year. Tried to identify what we think are the big issues for the state of West Virginia that would move West Virginia forward. We've been, going around the state, pretty much covered the entire state this year. I think we got just a few places to go to hit our 55 counties. But, these issues I think are really, really important. Hope Scholarship is something that, I work on every day, and so I want to make sure I talk about that. But when it comes to the other two, at least the other two major ones, they're all important. But when it comes to no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and teachers' compensation, I just don't hear a lot of people talking about tax cuts or teachers' compensation. So I just thought it was really important to get out there early, start talking about it. We'll be meeting with the legislature over the next 6-8 weeks, talking to them about it. We've already started those discussions, and these are just important issues that I think the profile needs to be raised. So that's what I'm trying to do.
The first one that jumped out of me of your list, and we're going to try to go through that entire list in the 20 minutes we have left here. Prioritize teacher pay, because this is a border state that is surrounded by expensive counties. This is something I think that is very important in this area to teachers. But I would take it beyond teachers, Mr. Treasurer, and I would say any government employee. We can't get state troopers in the Eastern Panhandle. 10, 15 years ago, we had 35. Now we have 15. And I'm told it's because they just won't accept an assignment here because you can't buy a house. You can't afford to live here on state trooper pay. And again, not just teachers, but also those who work in the cafeterias, those who drive the buses, and so on and so on. So this, I think, is huge. And you're saying that it should be a minimum starting salary for all teachers set at $50,000, and for any teacher making above 50, we're going to give you another $2,000 to make up for those who are under 50, getting a bump to 50, and it should be implemented July 1 of 2026. How do we do that, sir?
Well, I think we do it. We do it just basically by passing legislation. We've got the money, so the money will come out of surplus. So it's just not an issue. It's not a financial issue as much as it is as a will. And I'm not saying that this is the panacea that will fix every issue that we have with respect to public education. But I think it's a really good start. I hear a lot of people talking about different aspects of public education that they want to address. All these are good things. But if we don't have teachers, if we can't retain teachers, we can't attract teachers, all these other changes just won't get us anywhere. So, and I just don't hear a lot of conversation about teacher salaries. This program really was modeled after something that Governor Huckabee Sanders did in Arkansas a few years ago. She noticed that they were basically 48th, 49th in teacher salaries in the state of Arkansas. They were also their starting wage was really, really low. One of the best times to attract the teachers when they first come out of school. And we need to make sure that our starting wage is competitive. And currently, it's in the low 40s, and it's not competitive. So basically, I was really trying to focus on, hey, let's attract these teachers that are coming out of school that we're educating in our schools. Let's get the starting wage up, and then, but at the same time, let's make sure that we give everybody else a raise as well. So it's about a $70 million number all in with fringes. So I think it's something we can easily do within the budget structure that we have. I think we need to do it. There's other things we need to do in public education. I spend a lot of time, reading and talking to people about public education, and love to, I'll get out as deep as you want to go. But I do think it starts is we have to get our teachers' compensation up to a reasonable level. I think this is a good place to start and weigh in.
Before Bill and Maria go, I want to highlight the list: defend the Hope Scholarship, eliminate the state income tax on tips and overtime, which is a President Trump priority, increase local control of schools. Other priorities include unclaimed property, consumer protection bill, and constitutional term limits of 3 terms for those in the constitutional offices, of which the treasurer is one. Let's stay on schools, though, for a second and say a bit more detail about increased local control of schools, which I think many people are very much in favor of.
Yeah, one of the things the state of West Virginia, or capital, we do real well is we like this one-size-fits-all. And, so we fly about 30,000 feet, and we say that, Monroe County and Berkeley County need to do everything the same way, even though they really don't have a lot in common other they're both in the state of West Virginia. I really believe that our local school boards, if they were given the opportunity to make choices, they would make really good choice for what works in their county. But we've given them a very regimented top-down central control thing out of Charleston that really restricts their ability to make decisions and to flex and just do the things that are particular to their counties. And so I just really hit on a couple things, which is the ability to basically transfer teachers where they need to transfer teachers, the ability to just basically move things around. We got a lot of work rules. I guess you'd almost call them union work rules that come out of Charleston that the counties have to follow. And again, I think each county should come up with their own rules, what works for them. And this is just a couple of things I think would help. I think we go a lot further with the counties to give them a lot more flexibility. But I just tried to hit on a couple of things just to get us started. But, when it comes to local control, what I talk a lot about in Charleston is we just need to quit digging. We just need to quit putting regulations, whether you're a school board, you're a county, or your city. We need to let the folks, these local leaders, lead. And if they lead the wrong way, the voters will take care of that issue. We don't have to challenge them from Charleston.
Maria.
So, Larry, wouldn't then, if you bring up the point of one size fits all, and that's what we've been doing, wouldn't that beg the question of locality pay? Shouldn't our teachers in the Eastern Panhandle, and when I say teachers, actually all state employees, have the ability to have a bigger bump in pay because we are not Monroe County?
We're not. So it's interesting when you listen to locality pay. Kind of what I hear that it means. There's no question that the counties should have the ability to pay different amounts, and they really do. But really, what we're asking for additional money in the school funding for locality pay. And that generally, that's the rub as to should we give more money in the school funding calculation to a Berkeley County for teachers than we should Monroe County. And I'm kind of okay with that. I think the entire school funding computation method needs to be redone. This thing was created 50 years ago by a judge in Ohio County. It's time to update it and look at things. But the other things you get is, like in some counties, transportation's a bigger thing because they're traveling further, right? But there's no bump up for transportation, for example, from Pocahontas County and then Berkeley County. So there's a lot of things I think that need to address with local, just the local things that are going on in each area. But I think my final deal on it, whenever we do finally come up with whatever that computation is that says that Berkeley County gets X dollars, they should get a check, and they should spend it however they want to spend it. Because not only do we have this crazy calculation about how much money they're going to get, then we tell them how they can spend what they get. and again, I just think the more flexibility we give those counties, I think it's really, really important. But again, I think we also need to look at how do we compensate, how do we attract, retain teachers in these areas where there's so much competition across the border where they get paid so much money. We need to have that conversation, but we just kind of put Band-Aids on it. So again, my proposal, I think, is a start. But as I said earlier, it's not the panacea that's going to fix all problems. But if we can just get the money in for minimum teacher salaries, I think that'll go a long way, and then we can start addressing the other issues.
Bill.
Good morning, Larry. Thanks for joining us. And I applaud your suggestion of increased teacher salary and also more local control for schools. Would you extend that to more local control for counties as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Again, I think we've hit 52, 53 counties. We only got a few left. We're going to Tyler and Pleasance today. But we've got great county commissioners around the state. They're kind of the CEOs of county government. They know what they want to do, but they're hamstrung. They're hamstrung on how they can raise money, what they can spend money on, and we've almost created it's almost what you wanted, a culture of dependency, right? If they want to do X, they want to do Y, they want to do Z, they have to come to the state and ask for permission to do X, Y, and Z. And it really slows things down. It complicates them. It adds a lot of cost. A little bit like our kids, right? It's the last thing we want for our kids when they become adults is for them to be dependent on it. Well, we're making the counties dependent on us at the state. If we would loosen the strings and let them make their own decisions, the counties would move faster. A lot of good things would happen. But this, again, the top-down thing for Charleston doesn't help, and it really doesn't help when you have counties like in EP that are dealing with these growth problems that are just, things that, like in the southern part of the state, we're dealing with the other problems, right? We're dealing with shrinking problems. And the more we let the counties make their own decisions, give them more flexibility, the better off our state will be. And again, you guys are close to Virginia. You can see how Virginia counties have a lot more power, a lot more authority than we give ours.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But I find it kind of paradoxical that a lot of the legislators, not all of them, but a lot of the legislators said, yeah, we're all in favor of more county rule. However, we're not going to give you the provision of going before the voters to add for an additional safety tax or security tax, whatever you want to call it. We want to give you local control, but we're not going to give you the means of doing it. How do you crack that nut among the legislators?
Well, I think we have to keep talking to them. Basically, I tried to explain to them that if you don't give our counties and cities more authority to do the things they think they need to do, then what's going to happen is every year they're back at us and they need another $10 million, they need another $7 million, they need another $8 million. And we don't fix anything, right? We just put Band-Aids. If you want them to be independent, you've got to give them the authority to do so. So I just continue to talk about that, and because I have a little different opinion. Of course, I don't like taxes. I don't like fees. I'm a business guy. But if someone raises the taxes too much or the fees too much, the voters will take care of that situation. The voters in that county.
Yeah,
we don't need to be. We don't need to be county commissioners in the Capitol or mayors in the Capitol. That's a whole different job. If we don't like what they're doing, we should run against them or get somebody else to run against them. So I have a really different perspective, and maybe it's because I was, when I was a kid, I was a local officer in a small little town, so I kind of get it, what they're going on. But when I talk to mayors, when I talk to county commissioners, I feel like I'm talking to fellow CEOs. So I see how they're hemmed in as what they're trying to accomplish. And I don't agree with everything they want to do, but they ran for those offices, so we ought to let them lead.
I want to make sure we get through this list here, Bill, so I want to get to the next one real quick. Constitutional term limits. You are saying 3 terms should be enough for anybody in the constitutional offices.
Yeah, this is something that I've worked on ever since I ran for the House Delegates in 21. After all those years in the private sector, it just makes sense. We do it for governors, we do it for sheriffs. Nobody should own these offices for decades and decades. And we've had auditors and commissioners and stayed 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. 3 terms is enough. These are public service jobs. These are not career jobs. And so, the way it would work is basically if the Senate and House would pass a resolution, then it goes before the voters, and the voters will decide. And so I think it's really good policy, and I narrowed it just to the basically the role that I'm in. I think you can make arguments maybe term limits make sense for other things, but I just kept it at the Board of Public Works, and I think most of the Board of Public Works is for it. I'm trying to get them to be a little bit more verbal about it, but again, I think it's good policy, and I think we should do it.
All right. Defend the Hope Scholarship. Defended from what?
Well, I think the big change in Hope Scholarship for next year, the school year beginning next August, is universal eligibility. So that's kind of my hill to die on. I think we really should make sure that we allow that to happen so that every parent of every K through 12 student in West Virginia has a choice. Most of those, 90% of them, will not take that choice, but we want to make sure everybody has a choice to pick the educational route that makes sense for their child. That's something I think is really important. We've led the country on it, and I think it's a really, really good thing to do. A lot of states have followed West Virginia now. Everybody does things just a little different, of course, but I think there's about 20, 25 states have educational freedom, and I hope we continue to lead.
Unclaimed Property Consumer Protection Bill. Protect the consumer from what or whom, sir?
Yeah, that's a little nuanced, but basically what's happened with unclaimed property is there are businesses that have started that go out and they basically try to mine these unclaimed property claims. And so we just want to make sure that when, if I sell my claim to one of these companies, that there's been proper disclosure, that I know when I'm selling, they know what they're buying. I want to make sure it's really clear that someone's been treated fairly in that transaction. So think of it almost like a consumer thing. We just want to make sure there's proper notification and so forth, because there has been some instances we felt like where people were a little bit taken advantage of because it wasn't totally described what they were selling. So,
eliminate the state income tax on tips and overtime.
We passed a lot of tax cuts over the years and a lot of tax credits that we give to big businesses. Think solar industry and different ones. But this is a working person's tax cut. So this is a tax cut for your local waiter or waitress. It's for your beautician. It just makes sense to do it. We need to help these folks. They work really, really hard. The folks that tips is a big part of what they do. Overtime's the same way. So whether you're a construction worker, you're a healthcare worker, they all work a lot of overtime. We know that they get taxed really heavy when they work overtime. So I applaud President Trump for getting that passed at the federal level. But what we don't want happen is people getting tax relief on the federal level, but having to pay that tax in West Virginia. So just trying to make West Virginia's tax laws consistent in this area with federal tax laws. It's a small number in our state budget, but it's a big number if you're one of those people that would get this benefit.
So, Larry, several folks on our Facebook stream seem to believe this sounds like a campaign platform. Would that be an accurate statement? Are you running for governor?
No, I'm not running for governor. I'm running for treasurer. I'm trying to be a good treasurer, and I think these are really good things that we need to do. These will not be the only things that I talk about, but I really take seriously being the chief financial officer of the state, and think if something has a dollar sign on it, and I've got an opinion on it, I need to get it out there, and then the people can decide where it makes sense, and the legislature can decide where it makes sense or not. So I think I'm just doing my job, and the future will take care of itself. But we're having fun being state treasurer. I think we're being effective, and we're going to continue to work on. But the future will take care of itself. Lord's got that. I don't have to worry about that too much.
Yeah, Larry, you mentioned pay raise for teachers, and I think everybody applauds that. Also, some tax cuts on tips and the like. What has not been mentioned is our child care in the state, our PIA cost overrun, what we see coming down the horizon with increased medical costs, SNAP benefits, which are maybe taken care of now. These are big ticket items. The Hope Scholarship's a big ticket item. Do we have enough money to pay for all these things?
Well, we do. But part of it, I'll go through a couple of those things. We made some moves on child care by passing some tax credits and doing some things. I think we need to continue to fund child care. We need to continue to do everything we can to make sure that we have more access to child care. So there's things we can do that are not necessarily budget busters, but we stay focused there without a doubt. PIA is a self-imposed problem that we've created ourselves by taking a program that was supposed to originally be just for state employees and basically putting nonprofits in it and all kind of other people, counties and cities. If you go back 20 years ago, the cities and counties had their own insurance issues. So we're down there in Charleston trying to, act like Humana or United, and we're just not capable of it. And so we'll continue to have these problems with PA as long as we try to run an insurance business that we're just not good at. Even the federal government, for their employees, they know that, they know that they can't do that, so they give people choices. So we keep talking about what we can do, and hopefully we can make some differences there. We also know from healthcare, so many of the issues in healthcare are federal. And so I hear some discussions on the federal level that they're going to address some of the things. Obamacare really raised the cost of health care, so maybe we'll get some adjustments there that can help. But we're always going to have challenges. But remember, we have we have small town, rural America challenges.
I got to jump in to get out of this segment. I appreciate your time today, sir.
Thanks for your opportunity.
Thank you so much, Larry.
Treasurer Larry Pack. We are back with the final minute after this.